Hi there, friends. It's Simone, your favorite neighborhood nerd. I want to share all the pens that I have inked in the month of January 2025. They're not inked specifically for the month. I just want to record what is currently inked and put that into my new ink journal so I have a baseline. But I will talk about each one of them as I go through them when I record them in the ink journal. I just wanted to show you the 12 right here. They are awesome, all of them. And for some reason, I seem to have a type. I have a lot of green, blue, teal pens inked. That's the ones that are left for now. So, I have a Pelikan M800 with a medium nib, a Benu Ambrosia Brown Orchid with a medium nib, a Pilot Custom 823 with a medium nib, a Waterman Karen with a fine nib, a Pilot Custom 743 with a medium nib. Maybe you get the idea that I love medium nibs. That is correct. I have a Benu Daily Made, relatively freshly inked with a medium nib here. Then I have a Sailor Pro Gear with a medium nib, a Sailor Pro Gear with a fine nib, an Admog M800 with a medium nib, a Pelikan M800 with a fine nib, a new pen, the Skogsy Choya with a double broad nib. That is an experience for sure. And then the Esterbrook SD Funky Lake with an extra fine SIG nib. I am using a new ink journal for 2025. In 2024, I used this Odyssey notebooks ink journal with Cosmo Air Light paper, and I do have quite a few pages left here. However, I really want to see how my pens work on Tomoe River paper. This one is Sanzen. This is a Hobonichi blank notebook that I purchased in the fall of 2024. So far, I'm okay with the paper that is in here, but I just want to see it on the Sanzen paper, and so I decided that January would be a good time to swap over into this book. I have already set it up here. I have 12 pens, and I used this ink stamp set by Everyday Explorers Co., which is called Currently Inked. I used this specific stamp, and I am trying out a new ink pad for my stamping, which is Versa Magic Midnight Black. This is a chalk ink pad that is supposed to sit on top of the paper instead of seeping in. And so I'm really curious to see how it works with inks. I did see that once I was done, it was still smudging, so maybe it has quite a high dry time. It did not bleed through. Of course, there's ghosting, but there's no bleed through. And I decided that I am going to do some testing tomorrow and compare it to my previous standard go-to ink, which is VersaFine. This is a pigment ink. This is a chalk ink. And I will try this on Tomoe River paper, both of them, as well as on Cosmo Air Light paper, just to see how they compare. And especially with the Cosmo Air Light paper, the VersaFine would somehow make the paper different on the other side. Like you can see here how suddenly the pen wrote much broader and then it wrote less so, like here as well. Here, this is because of the stamping, and I want to see if it's different with this stamp pad. But that is so, the idea is so extensive, in my opinion, that I want to do that in a separate video, and I decided that I'm just going to include it tomorrow in my snippets from my desk video. So, before I am going to start, I need my ink journal because I'm curious to see when I inked those pens, and then I want to give ratings to them. So let's start. This is the official start of the currently inked video. The first pen that I have here is this actually the first pen? Let me check. I did a pre-test earlier yesterday, and I actually put it in the wrong way. I want to go brown and then reds, I think. The first pen that I have here is the Benu Ambrosia in Brown Orchid. I have this inked. It has a medium steel Schmidt nib. I have this inked with KWZ Smells Like Coffee. And the reason why I inked this pen is because I wanted to try yet again how I would like this, the writing experience with this pen. I had quite some problems with the, now I can't do the same things at the same time. All right, so I had quite some problems with the ink flow. It felt like it would starve. And so I needed to test this again because I was considering selling it. So this is the Benu Ambrosia in Brown Orchid. In a medium nib, the ink is KWZ Honey. And what I can say about this is I enjoy the smell of the ink. My puppy, actually, every time I uncap this, I journaled with this in my journal recently and was sitting on the couch with Max, and I uncapped it and he was like, "What's that smell?" So it's intense, but it smells like coffee, and it, oh, what is this? Wrong. Smells like coffee. I enjoy the smell of the ink. I really like the flow. But unfortunately, the color is not for me. So, when did I ink this up? I think I remember that I inked this. I did not write down the exact date. Oh, actually, of course I did. Am I not the crazy person who has an ink log where she stamps in the dates? Absolutely, I am. So I inked this on December 7th. So maybe this is the better reference for now. December 7. Where will I put that? I think I'm going to put this right here. 2024. And then I want to rate my pens, but I actually forgot what I did in October. So the ink. Well, what am I rating when I'm rating the ink? Right now it's the color, so I'm giving the ink a 4. The properties of the ink are lovely. It flows well, but it's just not for me. The flow is a 10, and the pen, actually, even though this section is quite narrow, I'm holding it back here. I don't feel the threads here, and I have to say that I really enjoy this pen, so I would give it a 9. All right. I am having this book right next to me because some of these pens I inked in October and I rated them already. So I want to see if my rating, I want to look at it first. I want to rate them first, and then I want to compare the ratings because I'm interested to see if it changed. This is relatively newly acquired Pelikan M800 blue and black stripe. I don't even know what they are officially called. Blue stripe. This is an older pen model. I think it's from the 90s or 80s. It has an 18 karat medium nib. And I was loaned this by my friend Wendy Sue, Fountain Pen News. And I really like the M800. This would be if they weren't this expensive, I would absolutely consider starting a collection of those pens because they feel fabulous in my hand. And let me check. I think in my favorites video of all time, where's that log for those inks I love? Top 5 pens of all time. The Pelikan M800 is on place number 2. So yeah, definitely one of those. And I really enjoy using it. So I could totally see myself starting a Pelikan collection. However, they're so expensive. So I like posting this and not posting it. It's super well balanced in my hand. I should have written up here. So I also inked this on December 7th, 2024. Is the Pelikan M800 in blue. Oh, stripe. The O is for, I'm not adhering to my writing convention, which I don't know if this is a problem for you. Sometimes I feel like it's a problem for me and I should. So this is Diamine, Raspberry Rose. It's an Inkvent ink from 2022, I believe. I love this writing experience. The pen feels great in my hand. And writing, the smooth writing, it's smooth writing, great flow. I'm giving the ink a 10. I love this ink. The flow a 10 and the pen a 10. This is an absolute fantastic writing experience every time I use it. Then I had, this is a pen that has been inked since October. This is the Pilot Custom 823 in amber. I've had this in my collection since 2023, and I don't think I'll ever let go of it. This is a medium 14 karat gold nib, and you can see how different the medium size is depending on the manufacturer. This is a Japanese pen, so usually or often the nibs are much narrower or finer in Japan than they are in Germany, or at least for Pelikan. The experience that I have is that Pelikan, Lamy, as well as even Leonardo, because they often use Jowo nibs or Bock titanium nibs, are much broader in general than Japanese nibs. And I think if you ask anyone, that's the same experience. So this is the Pilot Custom 823 in amber with a medium nib. This one is 14K. The ink in here is diamine, Cult Pens, deep dark orange. And I had this as a sample. However, my friend Julia from Julia Here reached out and said, oh my gosh, I have this bottle. I don't use it. Do you want to have it? Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julia. I can't wait to use this in my pens, in more of my pens. I am in love with this nib. It feels great. I would, if I compare, because I'm basically writing the same thing, if I'm comparing these two pens, then I definitely notice that actually the Pelikan M800 is a tiny bit more comfortable for me to hold, even though it's shorter. It's weird, right? The section is a little bit shorter. The threads start much earlier than they start on the Pelikan, on the Pilot Custom 823. It is shorter in length. Both pens are really well balanced in my hand. But I think the section is just a smidgen wider, and that's why I feel more comfortable, even though on this paper, in this space that I used right here, the writing isn't as nice. That is because this pen just needs a little bit more space to breathe, I feel, or this nib. And so I am using the fine nib later on, and you will see that it's totally different on how much space you give a nib in what type of nib size. Broader nibs need more space to look good, for me at least. It feels great to write with always. And I'm impressed. That it still writes. So I'm giving this ink a 10, the flow a 10 as well. Like, look at this, it still writes. And the pen, I think if I'm going to go by this, I would give it a 9.5. So when did I ink it, and what was my judgment then? So on the 3rd. Let me just, you know what? So January. What is today's date? 18, 2025. I just want to see if of course, I have written with this here. So it's not the ink that comes out of the nib, but it doesn't seem like it has evaporated at all, which I think is awesome. So I gave the ink a 10. I gave the flow a 10. I gave the pen a 9, which means it has increased in my love a tiny bit. I'm impressed. So this has been inked since October 3, 2024. And I'm on the fence. I had originally planned to do a 28 inks, 28 pens, 28 maybe poems in February, but I don't know if I want to unink these pens. What is wrong with me? I'm really curious about the inks that I have stashed away. I sorted them all by how I want to use them. I don't know if I'm going to change my mind until the end of January, or if I'm just going to continue using these pens. I'm trying to go with the flow and to go how I feel. I'm not going to pressure myself to do anything. That's my goal for 2025. Just go with what feels right. But it's weird. Just letting you know. This is the Waterman Corinne in royal blue. I got this in July of 2023. It has a fine 18 karat gold nib. This is an inlaid nib. And yeah, it is inked with Wearinghul Kyung-hee that I have not been able to find anywhere. So what I'm trying to do, what I want to do in a future video experiment is to mix some inks to see if I can get a similar hue. I have several brown inks, but none of them look exactly like this one. So yeah, I'm curious if I can get very close to this. So this has also been inked since October. Maybe I should, no, I'm not. This is the Waterman Corinne in royal blue. I was on the fence for a while whether I should keep this pen or not, because the writing feels so different. But every time I use it, I'm also impressed, or how do I phrase what I'm trying to say? I am in love with how this pen writes, the precise lines I can get from this, and I just need to be careful to put an ink in here that flows well. Kyung-hee. So I love, why do I write love every time? I love the precise lines I can get with this pen. Nib. It feels great on Sanzen paper. And that color perfect. So I'm giving the ink a 10. I'm giving the flow a 10, and I'm giving the pen, I gave the Benu Ambrosia a 9. I think I'm giving this pen an 8.5. I do notice that when I write with it, that I tend to you know, choke up on it. I tend to really hold this very tight. And so I need to remind myself every couple of lines that I need to let loose. So let me check when I inked this. This looks like it darkened in the pen, but I'll write here as well. So this is January 18, 2024. So I inked this pen on October 6, 2024. And then I gave, well, yeah, it's a tiny bit darker, but it seems like this ink is just different on these two papers. This is Sanzen Tomoe River paper, and this is Cosmo Air Light, as I said. So I'm more liberal with my high notes here. Ink 10, same. Flow 10. So I seem to have had problems with this then, but I don't have any right now. And the pen in 8.5. So I gave it more. I seem to be more loosey here. All right, another pen that has been inked quite a while. This is the Pilot Custom 743. What is this? All right, it is in the Verdigris colorway, which is a North American exclusive. And unfortunately, it's really hard to see, but the most amazing detail about this pen is the color change in the cap band right here. Can you see that between the two gold bands? There is lighter green and then there's a bit darker color. I love this. I noticed that just recently, and ever since, this pen has grown in my love tremendously. So it is basically the exact same pen as the Custom 823. However, because it is a cartridge converter pen, it is more convenient, but it also is different, has a different weight, which makes it different enough for me to make the writing experience just subtly different. I know this is just me lying to myself that I need both pens in my collection. And I do. I really feel like this pen is lighter, quite a bit lighter than this pen. And because of the cartridge converter, and there is this, you know, this piston rod here to create the vacuum fill and also to seal off the feed here. You can screw this off and then no ink goes from the barrel into the section. This pen is differently balanced, and I actually prefer the weight of the Custom 823, or the balance of the Custom 823. However, for convenience purposes, Pilot Custom 743 in verdigris with a medium 14 karat gold nib, and this is inked with Diamine Safari. This is so interesting or so funny to me that I'm writing this list, and every time I write, I show you a pen. Every time I write down the ink name, I'm like, this matches exactly with all the videos I have recently released. My bold statements, diamining. I have 1, 2, 3 diaminings. My top 5 pens are represented in this list. My top 5 inks of 2024 are represented in this list. What can I say? The cap band detail makes me love this pen. makes this pen a forever pen. Pilot number 15 nibs. Don't disappoint. I always love them. So let's see when I inked this pen. Wow. January 17th, 2025. Did I write 2024 earlier? Probably. Yeah, of course I did. So I'm trying not to lure over, but the ink is another 10 because I am planning on buying this ink in a bottle. The flow is a 10 and the pen, I think I want to give this pen a 10. Is that weird when I just said I prefer the weight of this pen? But I just love that cap band detail so much. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go with whatever. Alrighty. Oh, inked since October 9th. October 9th, 2024. My second 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Wow, that is matching really nicely. So, last pen on this side is my almost newest edition, second last addition to the pack, is the Benu Daily Mate in Fresh Monday. This pen has been sent to me by Benu. I have a review video on my channel about this. It's super long. In short, it's a lovely pen. The cap rotations are ridiculous. The pen sits really nicely in my hand. When I was reviewing this pen, I noticed that the diameter of the barrel here where it sits in the crook of my hand is wider than, for instance, with the Talisman, because those two pens are almost the same and this feels a tiny bit more comfortable. So I'm not going to go into like a whole scientific experiment, but it's interesting to see that. And maybe this is something that, you know, when you use your pens, you notice if it makes a difference to you as well. This has a number 6 Schmidt nib in medium, and the Schmidt nibs are lovely. I actually prefer those over the Jowo nibs. I feel like I'm repeating myself all the times. If you've been a long time watcher, you've heard that development mentioned as well. And I'm really glad that Benu asked and reached out and sent this pen to me. I'm really impressed with how this writes. The ink works really well in the pen. It's said to be postable, but it just feels wrong to me to cram this pen into the cap like that, so I don't post it. But in theory, you could. Benu, this is a super wet writing experience. Daily Mate. On a Fresh Monday. This is another medium nib. This is a steel nib. So, what am I going to write here? This is Lamy, tourmaline, the flow is so wet, but I am enjoying it very much. The pen feels comfortable. And the nib is smooth. Smooth. All right, so this ink, I like the ink. Now, do I love it? No. So I would go with I think I have quite a lot of inks in this color family. And I think there are some that are a little bit more interesting. So I think I'm going to give the ink a 7. I'm going to give the flow a 9. This might surprise you, but this is almost too much. And then the pen, I think I give the pen, so I gave the Benu a 9. I think I'm giving this pen an 8. And the reason why I'm giving this pen an 8 is for the sole reason of the cap rotations. I reached out to Benu after I had filmed the video and looked at it and, you know, like had some questions about, there were people on my Discord that asked, you know, do you know why this pen is so much cheaper than the other two number 6 models that they have, the Euphoria and the Talisman? Is it bad because of that? And no, it isn't. So I had some ideas why it is cheaper. So I asked my contact at Benu if they would be able to provide some insight to that. And then I also asked about the cap rotation and to give some feedback, because I think if they ask me to share the love for a pen, they shouldn't be surprised if they also get some feedback that, you know, questions their design choices or suggests some differences. So that's exactly what I did, and I got response to both of those questions. I asked, why are there so many cap rotations? Why is the pen more affordable? What are the reasons for that? And I posted those responses in the comment section in that Benu review video if you're curious about it. And yeah, so haha, when did I ink this pen? I inked this pen. Okay, see, that's this is kind of a little bit ridiculous. January 11th is when I inked this pen. January 11, 2025. So let's move over to the right side of the notebook. This is my first Sailor Pro Gear that I purchased. I had one on loan in medium fine, but then I decided I want one for myself. So I bought the Sailor Pro Gear, what is this called? Imperial Black, I believe. It's just so lovely. It has a matte finish and it feels so good. This was super affordable on Amazon when I purchased it. I think that's basically the reason why I actually did. The medium nibs on Sailors are amazing in my opinion. There is some feedback. They're still smooth. Just so good. And yeah, so I really love Sailor medium nibs. And these are actually 21 karat gold nibs as well. So there is differences in gold content. I don't think that the gold content makes a huge difference to your writing experience. What makes a bigger difference actually, Sailor Pro Gear. Imperial Black in the shape of the nib, I believe, and the shape, the size of the depth of the slit here, the size of the, what are those, tines? I said flanks one day. They're tines. Makes more of a difference to the writing experience, in my opinion, than what the gold content is. So the ink that is in here is Scribo Grigio. This is a lovely bluish ink, bluish gray ink. I haven't used this pen much. Since I inked it. And I don't know why. I love the pen, the ink, and the combination. Maybe I'm drawn to my colorful pens more. So I'm giving the ink a 10. I'm giving the flow a 10. And I'm giving the pen, yeah, I'm giving the pen a 9.5. Because, again, I'm choking up on it. So, inked. I inked it on October 31st, I believe. Yep. October 31st, 2024. 10, 10, 10. So I did do a little, went down a little bit in my judgment. January 18, 20, 25. It looks a little bit lighter actually than what it is on here. Interesting. This is definitely a smaller pen than many. It's almost the same height as the Benu Ambrosia, which is considered a pocket pen. Then I have another Sailor Pro Gear. This is one that I loved since the time that it was released. This is the Sailor Pro Gear in collaboration with Yoseka Origin. I purchased this, just like quite a few of the pens that I have shared with you earlier, secondhand from a friend. And I could not be happier with this pen. It's interesting how scratchy these pens sound when I'm writing on Sanzen paper. They don't sound as scratchy on other papers, but the sound is misleading. They do not feel as bad as they sound. At least that's how I feel about these. And this one has a fine nib. And I wasn't sure in the beginning if I wanted to use the fine, if that would make it not enjoyable. Pro Gear. But every time I use this, I am just so in love with how this writes. Yoseka Origin. Now, I purchased this from a friend, and she had it tuned by Greg Minushkin. So I don't know if this is how the pen usually comes and what exactly was done while tuning. Did he just make it wet? Did he make it smooth? The ink that is in here is Pilot, Hiroshizuku, Jaku. Wow. I did not expect this nib. Oops, I'm so sorry for hitting the camera. This nib to write this nicely. I will keep it just as it is. Perfect. Wow, I'm not taking up the space. That's the lovely thing about finer nibs. You can write smaller. When I did the I waited around for the writing assessment for Pilot forever. And they said the nib size for my handwriting would be a fine. And I was like, what the heck are you talking about? Fine. But I can see that definitely my handwriting, especially when it's in a smaller space, looks so much better with a finer nib than it does with like here. I need more space for that. The ink is A10. This is such a lovely color. The flow is A10. And the pen, yeah, I said earlier 9.5. This is a total 10 because I love it so much. I inked this one on December 7th, 2024. See, I know I have bottles of most of those inks, but I have such an aversion right now to just uninking them. Well, there's not much left, but yeah, it's so weird. So, this is the Admog M800. It is a blatant copy of a Pelikan M800, almost the same size. The design choices. There's even a bird here on the finial. This one feels heavier than this one. They're both piston fillers. They have even copied it blatantly to the loose cap as it is in the Pelikan M800, the Admog M800 uncaps as easily. Often the cap is loose like so that you're like, huh, what's wrong here? But yeah, I don't know the specific colorway of this. I would just call it teal. It is slightly translucent on one side, where there is chatoyance, it's not, but you can see that there's ink in here. I purchased this on AliExpress. It comes with a Schmidt number 6 nib, and as I said, I really love Schmidt nibs, and so I thought I want to see if I can find a more affordable Schmidt nib source, and this one definitely is amazing for the price. So I have this inked, and this is actually the very first time that I have this ink inked in a pen. Actually, it's funny. Sorry, the FedEx truck just parked right in front of my house, music blaring, so I stopped, but I still filled this in. Wow. So this is the first time that I actually inked this ink in a pen instead of just dipping my pen. But I actually really like how this looks in this pen. And so I just left it in there. I'm just going to call it Teal. This is a medium Schmidt nib. And as with the Fresh Monday, the Benno Daily Made Fresh Monday, this one is super wet. Waterman Serenity Blue. Wow, this pen is an amazing pen for the price. That sounds so stupid. Because all of those pens are amazing pens, but if you're out for a bargain, for a good value for the pen, for the money that you spent, then this is definitely a good one. I'm not so keen on it being a piston filler. Alrighty, so the ink is better than I thought, but it's not one that I would go for all the time. So let me check. Lame tourmaline is a 7. What did I think when I did this? So maybe I'm going to give this a 6. The flow is a 10. And the pen, same feeling as the Pelikan. It's not as weighted. That's why I posted this for sure, because it makes it feel more balanced in my hand. Well, I don't have any long-term. If I'm so discerning with this one, then I should not give this a 10. I'd probably give this an 8. Yeah. And then this one feels heavy and nice. I really love the green demonstrator. I mean, both are classy, but I think I prefer the green demo for it not looking as classy as the blue stripe. Man, did you see Brittany from Carrots and Olive unbox the Pelikan M800 with this? I didn't even know that they came out with that. It is a white creamy body with not a creamy body, cream piston knob, cream cap, cream section, but this awesome blue barrel. Oh my gosh. And she said she purchased that during a sale at Endless when it was so extremely affordable. Well, I did not see that pen because, wow, I would have totally gotten that one. For sure. I love how it looks. Again, it's not the standard color as the Pelikan blue stripe, or they have the green stripe or the red stripe. So this, I'm glad I did not give this a 10, because when I hold this, there's just a difference, not necessarily in how the material feels, but how the pen lays in my hand. And then, of course, yes, the Schmidt nib is awesome, but I love the Pelikan 18 karat gold nib just so much more. $800 green demo. With a fine 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Waterman, Tender Purple. If you have not tried this ink yet and you like purple, you should. This is not surprisingly one of my favorite pens. Every time I am reminded that it is true. Yeah, I love this ink. 10. I love the flow. 10. And well, since I've given 10s, this is definitely an 11, but I'm just going to stick with 10. And so if I go by this as a 10, I probably need to spread out my pen evaluation numbers more, because yes, this is awesome, this is lovely, this is great, but it's not the Pelikan M800 green demo in a fine 18 karat gold nib. I think if I could, I would totally add another. Well, I can, but if I were to add another M800, it would be a fine nib. All right, so second to last pen. Thank you so much for sticking with me for such a long time. This is my newest pen. This is the Skogsy Choya 14 millimeter is, I think, the title that it had in the shop. This is a boring teal blank with some purple chatoyans. Maybe this is blue, and some hollow shimmer inside. The hollow flecks aren't as easily determined. The blank is by Enigma Stationery. That is actually what pushed me over the edge when I pressed buy. But this is one of the most comfortable hand-turned pens that I have ever held. And I would totally buy more of those. Wow. Oh, have you seen the nib? It has their custom engraved cactus in it. And the ink that is in here is Pannonia Amarillo Stationery. Also, have you seen Amarillo Stationery has come out with 4 exclusive Amarillos branded new inks that look really lovely. I haven't purchased them yet, unfortunately, because most of those colors I already have. This is where I'm like always torn. I would love to support my friends, small businesses, but also I already have those colors, or maybe the orange is not necessarily a color that I would gravitate towards. Then do I just buy it to support? What do I do with the ink then? So let's write down what I know about this pen. Skogsy Choya. I'm just gonna write Enigma Teal. This is a double broad Jowo nib. So compared to the other nibs, the Schmidt nibs, this is the other, steel nib brand that many people use. Most hand-turn makers use Jowo nibs or Bock. I haven't actually. I think the only Bock nib that I have is my titanium on the Leonardo. Okay, so this is Pannonia. Did I say what ink color this is? I'm just going to write Amarillo because I will run out of space. Rosa Mexicano. This pen feels amazing in my hand. Oh, you know what? I forgot the inking things. But the nib is too broad for every day. So I think what I will do with this nib is take it out and put it in a pen that I play with more. I think I would rather use this for everyday writing, especially since I only have one. There is a time and place for a nib like this, especially with me starting with those inky adventures right here or here. I can totally use a double broad nib for that, but I don't enjoy it in everyday writing. I can write, but as you can see, I'm not able to squeeze in 3 lines as I was able, for instance, well, I didn't need to here, but this is a great one that I could squeeze in 3 lines here or here. That's easy, but with this one, it wouldn't look good at all. Now the ink is bright. It's not an ink that I gravitate towards, but also it's not an ink that I don't love. So this one is a 7, and I really like this one as well. So I think I'm going to give the ink a 7. The flow, well, a 10. And the pen, a 10. Wow. I really love the concept behind this pen. When I bought it, they sent an explanation of why is the cap like this. You can use stacked nibs in here and stuff like that. And they were like, yes, and if you fiddle with flexible nib factory pens and feeds and stuff, and you put in a converter like a Pilot Con 70, they will all fit into this pen. And this makes my heart happy. This is something that I love, hearing that people do, or pen makers design these pens for those reasons, and not just like, okay, this looks nice. I made this design choice because that is something that, I studied architecture for a reason, and that's exactly why. Last pen. Whew, thank you so much if you're still here. And this is the Esterbrook SD Funky Lake. I put my Franklin Christoph Extra Fine Sig nib on here, and I'm struggling for sure. I love how I can write with this. But I actually, like, if I had to choose, I have a extra fine sailor nib. I have a fine sailor nib. I think I prefer the sailor nibs, and I haven't really figured out if it's because the Sig nib is just, it's a stub italic gradient. Maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's the stub nib that makes the writing for me so hard. I haven't figured that one out yet. I just know that I don't enjoy using it as much as I enjoy any of the other pens in here. Esther. Maybe, so while I'm writing this, SD Funky, I mean, it looks fabulous. And you can see I was able to write bigger with the Cello Pro Gear Yoseka Origin pen with a fine nib without problem. It might not look good, but it felt like I was able to write bigger. With this one, the only way I can make this kind of work for me is if I'm also adjusting the size of my writing, like to a really small, in order for it to actually work. So then the ink that is in here is Robert Oster Soft Kitty Warm Kitty. And this was inked with, when I talked about the pencil, I don't think that any of these inks work particularly well to replicate an actual pencil color graphite. I am going to check if Diamine possibly has a graphite ink color, because that is the most likely thing that could happen, I think. And then I would love to try that and see, because I really love having a gray ink in a finer nib for sure. I like the idea of this nib so much more than I actually enjoy writing with it. Now, the question is, do I do anything about it? All right, so the ink, I like it, but I think I like Scribble Grigio more in this bluish gray. This has a little bit more of a purple undertone. That's why I didn't put it in here, because I felt like it went well from green to blue, and this fit in here, the Scribble Grigio, but this one was just more red leaning, so maybe I thought this would be a good place for it. The ink, I'll give a 7. The flow, well, actually, the flow is okay. Maybe I'll give it a, did I give it anything else? This one is a 9. Maybe I'll give the flow an 8, and the pen is lovely to use. Since I am judging the pen with the nib, I think I'm gonna give the pen a 7. Nib is the reason for that. Okay, let me go back and tell you when I inked all of those pens, because that somehow slipped the cracks. Why didn't I date this? Oh, pencil pen, January 5th, 2025. Then this one was inked on January 11. See, writing tiny is not a thing, but it does write really well in reverse. That is something that I like about this double broad nib, and that's probably the reason why I will not get this ground to maybe an architect, because I really love how this reverse pen nib writes. November 16, 2024. Did I write with this somewhere in here? January 18, 2025. I think the color is still the same, which I just wanted to see if the evaporation is different. And then this one I inked, is it somewhere here? December 28, 2024. Alrighty, that's it. I am done with my currently inked pens. I'm still on the fence whether I should unink them and ink them again for February and do my project. I'm on the fence, but I really love how these pens look like with each other, how they work well. I love using them daily in my journal, and I hope you had a fun time with me today. Thank you so, so much for watching. I'm sorry that I can't keep myself short, but I'm just a long form YouTuber. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Until next time, bye.